Alright, we're back with the Bête Noire of Baselworld 2006, the limited edition of 250-piece Zenith Defy Xtreme Sea. Blue like the sea, also in the dark. Blue by day, blue by night. You can see this black and blue beauty and put it on your wrist on our website. Hi, I'm Tim, welcome to our channel, and thanks for logging on. Today we're discussing one of the most, discussed luxury watches of the last 20 years. Love it or hate it, the Zenith Defy Xtreme Sea is part of a family that helped to redefine what Zenith is in the modern era. As both a styling house and a manufacturer, one of the most memorable watches from a fascinating era of Zenith history. You can see this piece and purchase it on our website, subscribe to our YouTube channel if you enjoy these videos, and please click on the upper right hand corner of the screen at any time during this video to see our full sales listing for this watch, with additional accessories included in the sale, high resolution images for your desktop, and naturally complete pricing details for this mid-2000s limited edition of 250 pieces in black DLC titanium with Kevlar garnishing. This is a sensational watch. It caused a sensation when it debuted back in 2006. A watch that was entirely the brainchild of then Zenith CEO, President, and Chief Designer Terry Nataf. This is a controversial piece, no doubt, but taken on its own terms as a product of its time, few watches are more iconic of their era, and we'll talk about that in a moment. But fit comes first, and the surprise is that when I discuss fit of this watch on my wrist, it actually does sit secure. The watch is massive, no mistaking that. Even in titanium, it has a substantial heft to it, and the physical wrist real estate it occupies pushes me right to the limit of what I would consider suitability for this watch. My wrist is 16 centimeters in circumference. I would not attempt to wear this watch on a smaller wrist. Now, the timepiece is 47 millimeters across the round of the case from 9 to 3, not including the substantial all-aspect crown guard, as well as chronograph pushers and chronograph pusher crown guards themselves. They actually have their own separate flared guards on the edge. Now, the watch is thick, 20.3 millimeters thick to be precise. From lug to lug, two ways to measure it. Lug to lug, counting only the extremities of the case, in which case the watch is a substantial 54 millimeters across the wrist. And then there is the solid end link to solid end link, the actual horizontal distance of watch and bracelet across the wrist, and that is a mammoth 58 millimeters. Now, the watch does sit comfortably, and it's worth mentioning part of that equation is the burly DLC black titanium and Kevlar bracelet. This is part of where Terry Nataf's production logic really begins to make sense. That is, it actually becomes logic. It's a well-built bracelet, combination of Kevlar inserts to prevent scratching from desk diving, as well as to add a handsome contrast. The contrast is subtle between the dark navy blue metallic diamond style plating, and as you can see that diamond pattern on the flanks, inboard of each actual link. Tremendous money was spent here, both designing and assembling this, as well as making sure that everything fit flush at a luxury level of fit and finish. All sizing of the bracelet is done with screws, no pins and sleeves here, and one of the key innovations that Nataf brought to Zenith when he started with the company as CEO in 2001 was that he went to a upgraded specification for lugs, for bracelets, and for clasps, removing hollow links, hollow lugs, and spindly clasps in favor of solid units that put the company on a solid footing in terms of the luxury profile it was attempting to build. He also spent real money on cases and complications, and we'll get to that in a moment. You can see the double deploying clasp, very smooth on the underside and curved to trace the underside of the arc of the wrist. When you close the clasp, it's quite secure and also low in profile for no desk diving outcroppings that can lead to disfigurement of your handsome watch. Now, the watch does feature a number of controversial styling elements, of which the dial and the bezel are undoubtedly exhibits A and B, but let's talk a little bit about the case profile. It's all black DLC titanium, and as we found in the decade plus since these watches came out, it's proven to be a very durable coating. I've seen very few of these shredded down to bare metal. The DLC lives up to its reputation as truly diamond-like carbon. Now, this is an extreme sports watch, so it has extreme equipment. There's a helium escape valve on the flank, and the bezel is one of those areas where the Defy Xtreme is at its most extreme, and because back in the 2000s, you wanted people to know you were serious when you called something extreme. In the case of this watch, extreme is spelled with an X, and that pretty much describes the bezel. One gets the sense that Nataf, in his Superman role with the company as a little bit of everything from engineering to design to management, didn't quite know when to stop with the styling aspect of his job, as the bezel features both an outer intermediate profile with small recesses and large blocks for easy gripping, and then it features a carbon fiber insert with a gloss topping, inserted, and these are separate inserted polished metallic elements in the form of dart-shaped indices and stars. The watch features blue printed quarter hours and a very robust, and this is where the quality is manifest, a very robust ratcheting action that offers a very satisfying audible and tactile detent action. Now you can line up the index at 60 with the minute hand, but all cards on the table, it's not a true dive watch because there is no luminescent pip or pearl on the bezel itself, so just keep that in mind. Otherwise, you're able to use the chronograph, and let me screw out the chronograph pushers so we can fire that up, but you're able to use the chronograph and the dive bezel to time two concurrent events. The dive bezel measured against the minute hand, and the chronograph featuring registers for chronograph minutes and hours. And if you look, you can see there's a very subtle hour calibration printed on the hour register at 6 o'clock. You'll also note from this angle that Nataf held back nothing in the design of this dial, including budgeting. This was an expensive piece to make back in the day, and back in the day, 2006, it had a retail price of $19,100, and you could see why. The dial is deep, beautifully finished, rich in material and in detail. You'll note that there is a matte black that runs the outer circumference that features a calibrated scale for minutes as well as chronograph seconds. Looking at the center dial, you can see it has a true carbon fiber insert that has a wonderful three-dimensional, almost holographic quality, with a gloss finish on top to give it a rich, lustrous gleam. And then there's an engine-turned perlage panel at the bottom of the dial as well as the top. You'll also note that the platforms featuring constant seconds and chronograph minutes are both raised above the plane of the dial base, creating a depth effect. Now, why these turbine-style indicators were chosen, only Terry Nataf knows, but again, this is one of the most distinctive watch designs of all time, instantly recognizable from any angle. And as you can see, there is a good deal of extremely subtle navy blue on black printing, so you're going to want to look at this one and really get to know it before attempting to use any of its instrument functions. Fortunately, you'll note that the inverted Cyclops eye, that is the magnifier is under the crystal, makes it easy to refer to the date window, and the watch does feature a quick set function for the date. Now, elaborate bezel, elaborate case, elaborate bracelet, and elaborate dial, well, you can also get the sense that the watch has an elaborate crown side array. Even the chronograph pushers feature carbon fiber inserts on their outer face. The crown guard itself is a mammoth modular construction featuring a number of screws, all-aspect cage protection. It does have a screw-down crown, and the watch does boast an impressive 1,000 meters water resistance in tandem with this burly crown side assembly and the helium escape valve. So it was built for serious seafaring, even if it is not strictly an ISO 6425 dive watch. Now, the timepiece has a burly case back that has an awful lot of printing on it. You can learn a good deal about the watch just by reading the case back. It's a limited edition of 250 pieces. It's called the Zenith Defy Xtreme Sea, and yes, extreme is spelled with an X. It is rated to 1,000 meters water resistant titanium and Swiss made. You'll note it's particularly water resistant against the forces of high pressure, and for good measure, there is the reference number. What you might have missed amid all of that is that the caseback actually features a echo of the dial layout. You can see these outcroppings are echoed in the form of the dial itself, so there is a surprising amount of styling continuity and parallelism throughout the watch. And again, I cannot overemphasize that real money was spent here. The watch feels like a bank vault on the wrist, and it looks like one to match. Everything on the exterior of the watch looks and essentially feels the business, doing justice to the El Primero caliber 4000 inside. 36,000 vibrations per hour. It features a quick set date, though no hacking seconds. No El Primero caliber save the new 9004 in the Defy 21 does have that hacking function. But the watch features a 36,000 vibration per hour beat rate and 50 to 52 hours of power reserve with crisp column wheel action to the chronograph, start and stop, as well as reset. Of course, bidirectional automatic winding, and this one protected against essentially everything short of the apocalypse, down to 1,000 meters, and the apocalypse eventually came for this era of watch. The Audemars Piguet Royal Oak Offshore Limited Edition series, the Hublot King Powers, and the Defy Xtremes were swept away for a period by the tides of the global economic crisis from 2008 on. Nevertheless, today, much like El Primero references from the 70s in oversized blocky cases, this watch is coming back into fashion as a piece that is generally defined by its period style, redolent of its age but possessed of immense character for that. Add the fantastic luxury-level build quality and the important stepping stone role this watch had in creating Zenith as a truly global brand, and it just may be time to rehabilitate Terry Nataf. You decide on our website, and stay tuned for a Loom Shot coming up next.